last year, I think it was 27 different defensive starters you guys had. Have you ever been a part of anything like that, and what kind of challenge is that for you guys, week to week?
That was a different experience. Yeah, I've never really been a part of 27 different guys, but the good news from that is a lot of young men got a lot of experience, and the experience that you get, sometimes freshmen think they have an idea if they play a little bit on special teams, or young guys think they have an idea of what's going on, or even guys who have been backups, think, hey, when the starter's gone, I'll be able to step in the role, I'll do it. But a lot of guys got experience in games, and they had a chance to see what it's like to play Big Ten football. And that helps you going into the offseason. And you could really see a difference in the work ethic of the offseason. You could really see a difference coming in and a little bit that we get to do a football during the offseason, talking about, hey, listen, here's reinstalling, here's the basics of football, here's, go back to football 101 and kind of reteach everything. And the attention to detail has been different because those guys actually got game reps. It's different when you have a chance to go out and play a little bit, a mop-up time or whatever the case. But when you're in real games and you see what it's really like, well, your out of season is different. And that's the positive thing from all those things that happened last year. You had a lot of guys getting games and play real snaps of football, and they had to be starters. Well, now they know what it's like to be a starter, and coming back into the off season, you hope that propels us and changes them a little bit. But yeah.
How's it been, Scottie, getting your new position coaches adjusted to everything you guys want to do and working with them and with Tyron and Jimmy?
No. Those two guys are great. Really, the cool thing is they do have a ton of experience, and they both have been around the same systems that we run that has been in the NFL. So, in fact, like with Jimmy, there's there's like 6 dudes on the staff that we had worked with before, that I worked with before, and we bounce around. So the transition for that's easy. One of my favorite D-line coaches in the world, Dyron was with. So it was one of those things that as we talk through ball, all the language is really similar. So it's an easy transition for them. And then just to get, that kind of education in, I think that it's exceptional for our players to hear, to bring in quality dudes they're great people, first of all, of course, and Coach Tucker always does a great job hiring great people. But they also come in with a wealth of football experience and in the same things we do. So when we talk, it's more like, hey, what did you guys call this now? Okay, we call it this, and then the communication can start, and it's already like you're past, the phase 1, the install, that you can kind of skip some things, and then you can also quiz them and say, hey, okay, when you guys did this, how did you guys do it different than we do? And then, hey, well, we tweaked this, and we did, so that's good. So it makes you stronger, having those guys around. They're great dudes. They're great to hang out with.
Scottie, did you know Dyron and Jim before, and where has your paths crossed?
Well, Dyron actually, when he was back at the Colts, I used to go visit the Colts, and there's a dude named JT Tierlink was the original D-line coach there. I know his son really well, and they had worked at the same spot, so it's kind of cross paths. And the funny thing, we were talking about, everyone has their little manuals. Well, I carried this book around that I got from JT, because JT, he passed away, but he's a classic guy, and he, used to just photocopy everything. So I have a photocopy of his book, and I was like, look, and Dyron's like, hey, I have that really on. It's the first time, it's been a long time. So it's been since the 90s that we've been around the same family. And then Jimmy, I didn't know Jimmy, but there's 2 coaches that are still at the Bills. One's retired, and then one guy that was the D-line coach that left. There's actually 2. One went to the Jets, and one's in college now. But we had all worked together, so it was an easy transition. That way, you just call a bunch of your buddies and say, hey, he's the best guy in the world. You're gonna love him to death. And so you have those connections, and then when they come in, this system just flows. So it makes it easy. And when you can check up on those dudes and kind of have an idea, it makes it easy to come into the room. It makes it fun.
You were able to switch things up late in the year and mix different packages. How do you blend Jacoby into that now that he's back?
Yeah, when we started doing that, he was really still with us at the time, and we have a couple different linebackers that can, him and Aaron Brule, they're both that kind of guy that can do some rush stuff, that can do those things, and we can mix them in and out. So we ended up using Brule a lot there, and those guys really this spring are providing us that same deal where we can do some different things with those guys and get them a chance to rush and do different, the great thing is it actually gives you depth, because you have Jacoby back, and Brule was learning it, and now they both are on the same, and they can keep going, and they can back each other up, and they can keep a fresh guy in.
From a physical standpoint with him, what does what he bring allow you to do?
Jacoby, are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a different cat. There's not a lot of guys who can play stack backer and read and be physical like him, and then go down the edge and really do some different. He not only speed rush, but he can go to power, and we're working on that piece of his game. I know that's one thing that some of the guys that we had evaluate him talked about, and so he's really worked out a bunch in the off season and really done a great job. And the other thing about that's great about it, just his leadership. Like he holds guys around. He's not one that's afraid to speak up when someone does something. Hey, we need to do it. Okay, and they listen. So it's cool to have him back and back feeling like, hey, I'm part of something and I'm going, and it's been good for him, and his confidence is back and he's starting to speak, and his play at linebacker is going to help us. Getting some of those transfer in D linemen help us so he can stay there, and then you can use him in those situations to be able to go do some different things, which helps the defense.
Scottie, Jay talked a little bit last week about feeling like a night and day difference from a year ago. For them especially, they got healthy offensive linemen, all those things. When you look at that front seven, I guess, when you talk about the guys coming back, plus the guys you've added through the portal, some of the true freshmen are here, what does it feel like in terms of the talent level? Do you feel like you've taken a similar sort of lead?
Sure. Up front, it's different. Even as you guys have guys in and out, or you just walk into that room and it's a different looking room. It looks like a Big Ten D line. The guys are physical. They understand how to play. Dyron's done a really good job getting them up to speed and knowing what to do. And it does. It feels different. Where you can call some things and say, hey, listen, D line, we're putting this on you, and they go, okay. Well, we're good there, and but that for us is a major, and where you can roll guys and provide depth, and you don't have to, I mean, I know last year was weird, but you don't have to Band-Aid something and say, okay, hey, you got to play this spot this week, and then you got to go over there and play that spot and do all. Hey, we just have bodies, and that competition lets everybody get better, and you can use guys however you need to.
Mel talked too about Mise being a guy that you see that too as a guy you can use in multiple places.
For sure, for sure. A big dude like that against a tight end, it gives you matchup issues, and it's a great thing. And then, as you get the pass rush, and you can start to do some of the stuff like we talked about Jacoby, but in the midside, well, now you got two guys who are, really good athletes and physical dudes, but they can still rush and get edges and stuff. But you're putting them on mismatches.
What kind of development did you see from Cal last year? I know he's a starter in 21, but
sure.
Obviously, I think last spring you were saying you're kind of breaking them down. And
sure, the thing that as you go through and we do like get better tapes with everybody and stuff like that. And one of Cal's things that he did really well last year was he played more square. He played more lines. So as he got over the top, like he could get downhill. He did things like that. And we focused on that last spring. Where he was and allowed him to be able to make more plays that maybe he overran the year before, So then this spring we came back and said, okay, hey, now we got to work on his pass, especially when he's at depth, his space plays. How are we gonna fix that, and how are we gonna I guess you don't need to fix it, but how are we gonna make it better? And those are things that we're working on getting better this spring. How to transition to one hand when you're taking on blocks, because he's not the longest guy in the world. He can't play some things like other guys. So those are the things that you're always trying to improve with those guys, and he's done a good job of this spring.
I know you had a class conflict, but is he just come running in off the
yeah. The cool thing is with Cal is you can, because he does have a class conflict, so he'll take the extra time at the end. And Antoine's working with him right now, actually. Is to go through and say, hey, okay, and then we do individual that we say, hey, because when you're filling out, hey, we need to work on this and this and this and this, and then okay, now Cal's up because he missed something. We can do this and this and just work things for him. So it's been kind of nice, really. You have that extra time with him.
Through your first 3 years, is there a game where you said that's the way I want my defense? That's what I want my defense to look like. Is there a game that you guys have played in these first 3 years?
Sure. 60 minutes, are you saying?
Yeah.
I don't know that you would say there's a 60-minute deal where you would say, hey, there's some spurts there, you would say, there's times where you would say, hey, you're proud of them for like, hey, at the end of Miami game, you got a chance to actually get and rush and cover and do some of those things and get some takeaways late in the game. You got a chance where you start off on fire in some games, and you start, there's bits and pieces of it all. And I think that the guys see that. To play a perfect game, man, that's hard. You can even take a shutout game, and you can even say, well, yeah, but hey, we could have done this better. And that's what we are as coaches. We try to find the good and the bad in everything every day. you know, and is there a game? No. Is there some games that, hey man, we worked like crazy and fought till the very end? Yeah, I mean, there's games you're proud of the guys the way they finish, you know, the Nebraska game, the Wisconsin game, games, you know what I mean? Even you'd say, you know, we ended up losing the game, but we went out and stopped and blocked a field goal, you know, give us our shot. You have those games that are in there, those sections of those games, but really for us it's about, you know, taking the good and the bad and breaking it down and then saying, hey, how hard did we play? And there's some games in there that you love, you know. I mean, you love to finish the game with a pick in overtime and say we got a chance to score. I know that we got tackled, you know, whatever. Or you get a takeaway. Those things are the ways that you really finish. That's the thing that you want to see all the time. Play like it's overtime all the time, you know.
And how challenging is it to get that consistency, and or do you feel like, you know, this is the year to kind of show that, I guess?
Sure, I think it's a combination of the guys playing with confidence, you know what I mean? The guys understanding what it takes and going into the off season with the attitude of kind of what they did this year, you know what I mean? I've seen it. I know what it is now. I know what it takes. Okay, good. Now we get the spring ball. Can we put all the pieces together? We'll see. You know what I mean? We have the ingredients to be really, really good on defense. You know, we have the want to be really, really good. We have the leaders to be really, really good. So as we keep moving forward, we'll see how the summer goes.
How are things going?
Scottie, he garnered a lot of attention when he committed, and so I'm just wondering how he's fitting in, especially in spring ball. He's a freshman. Is he kind of living up to that expectation of what you guys thought he would be so far?
Yeah, you're saying Jordan Hall? Yeah, he's a wonderful young man. You know, yes, I would say that he doesn't look like he should have. He just missed his prom last week, you know, and he doesn't look like a guy on the field when you watch him run around. He doesn't look like a kid that should have been at prom last week. The good news for Jordan that helps him a bunch is Jacoby and Brule stayed, you know, and so they're on him all the time, because when he walked in the room, you know, he's a guy who knows how to do things and do things right, and he is an attention to detail guy. So he's great to have in the room, and to be able to be around those guys, they see it right away too, and they're like, hey man, this guy's going to be a leader. So they're on him all the time as well. You know, they got to, hey, when we're here, let's do this together. Let's teach him how to do. Let's see how we do things, and then he can embrace it. And you know, they notice that. You know what I mean? And they embrace him, and he's done a really good job. He's a super smart young man. I mean, he's detailed. You know, he's not. You know, like, I know we're messing around with projection in here. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to. Well, he's not afraid, and usually with volume, that reflects how confident you are. And he's not afraid to walk on the field and say something. And if it's wrong, just no, we're gonna go. We're gonna do this, and then everyone has to make him right, you know. But at least he has that confidence to say what he thinks and do it. And then he has the wherewithal to come back and say, hey, was that wrong? Yeah. Oh, okay. And then we'll talk about it, you know. And he takes coaching, and he doesn't get offended by anything. You know, he wants that. He needs that. That's how he's produced his life, and that's how he's gotten better. So we're excited about it.
After that turnover in the back end, Scottie, how's that coming together so far with the DBs? And I assume at this point communication maybe is a big emphasis with X leaving and Malheed in that respect. For
sure, you know, and the funny thing, Jaden Mangum's done a great job, like kind of picking up the torch, you know, really kind of going back there, you know, and Malik, you know, even though he got some reps late in the year, you know, that was the piece that he was a little bit lit, because Mangum played more games, you know, and he had a chance to communicate in real life a whole bunch, and Malik was like a little bit limited. So that's where we're working on Malik, and the cool thing is you'll hear guys like Tatum, you know, and Tatum might know what to do right away, but he'll say, Malik, you're supposed to talk to me, but you didn't talk. And so he'll call him out, and it's good to see those things on the field, because they're holding each other up back there, because they all know they're young, they all know they have tremendous potential, you know, the guys in, you know, the Caleb Coleys of the world and the Ades of the world, you know, all those guys together, they know they have a good class, and they know they're going to be dependent on. So they do hold each other accountable, which is kind of cool.
When you look at everything that you guys dealt with, particularly at DN last year, how much do you feel, looking back, that the struggles to put pressure up front maybe hurt the back end, like the rush and cover piece together?
For sure, it's always together. You know, it works together all the time. You know, even when you said, and I brought this up last year when we were talking about everything. You know, well, 2 years ago we led the Big Ten in sacks, but that wasn't real. You know what I mean? Because we saw so many passes, we should. You know, and the rush. Okay, so we brought in, you know, somebody to come fix it and help us, but then we have issues, you know, and all the things we want. Okay, so now you're saying, listen, when we can get things working together and we can get these guys that we brought in up and humming, it's gonna look different. It's gonna feel different. It's gonna be different. You won't see some of the exotic routes. It's just, you know, some of the things that happen I mean, you look at any great NFL team, it's the same thing. You know, I mean, you can have you have good players back there, but if they got a dominant D line and a D line that hunts, it's hard on people. You know, it's hard on people. You either can't get as many guys out, or when you do, you better get rid of the ball super fast. And that's a wonderful issue to have. And if we can keep rolling guys out of that'll all benefit us.
How buying can fit in with that piece in terms.
You know, like right now it's fun to see By because he is so long and so explosive. You know what I mean? More as a rusher. You know what I mean? So if you look at the guys like we talked about moving around to Mise, you know, and you say, okay, here's a guy who can beat up a tight end on first down and get a rush off the edge, but then you move a guy inside. Well, now where's the role for the edge dude? You know, the Brandon Wrights of the world, the By Joe. You know, those guys that you can bring in and say, hey, listen, let's let them. And you can really go, and it's going to stress, you know, Coach Reynolds a little bit, be able to say, hey, listen, you can really go by, hey, this is the down and distance. Well, who do you really want in an end? Okay, let's get those guys in, you know, where they're going to rush. Hey, it's this situation where we can go, instead of having to play, hey, listen, you got every snap. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is, this is what we got, you know, and that'll be fun. And with that, you know, you can see, you know, hey, we can put this guy here, or this guy in this slot, or use this guy in this way, and it makes you stronger because you have an opportunity to use some guys who might not be. Well, I'm 120 or 227 pounds. You know, I'm not going to go there, set an edge and be fit, but I can rush. Well, then let's let that guy rush, you know, and do what he does well.
With
After
only 2
the
picks,
losing streak, you guys seem like you blitzed a little bit more. I guess a common criticism, though, I guess, of the defense was that maybe it was a little passive. I mean, where you're going more soft zone and you know, not sending extra rushers. I mean, do you think that's a fair criticism? And do you feel like you've adjusted or going to adjust to, you know, the philosophy seems to be to eliminate the explosive play, but I mean, do you feel like you guys maybe overcompensated to try to do that too much?
That's good. I didn't even know that was a criticism. That's nice to know, you know, that everybody's out there talking about how little we blitz. No, I think that, you know, pressure is pressure. You know, if you can get pressure with 4, if you can lock people down, I think that's an attribute to who you have, you know, and who you can do. You can blitz all the time if you would like, you know what I mean? But if you are short in the back end and you can't cover one-on-one, well, then, you know, hey, then you're getting criticized for the other way. You know what I mean? So that criticism I'm not worried about. In the package, is there pressure? Sure. Is there ways to manufacture pressure? Sure. There's times we made up things to try to create some more pressure. Yes. You know, can we use all those things still? Sure. You hope you don't need to sell the farm all the time. You know, you don't have to go after them every snap, because if you do that, now you're really putting your guys in bad situations. You know. You know, some of the best dude, you know, you go ask Jimmy, who just came in, you know, he was like, you know, we were in the same coverage every single play because we had dudes who could hunt, so it didn't matter, you know. And so it depends on the fluidity, who you're playing, how you match up all those things. I think that's going to be a game plan thing, how much pressure you'll see with that.
You got time for one more? You're right.
Yep.
just with the only 2 picks last year, how hard does that swallow with, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Never been around that before. I'm not lying. That's one of those things, you know. But I think it goes back to where we started at. You know, rush and cover is something that you say, hey, when it works together, it's great. You know, I mean, we've been part of defenses that got 40 takeaways in a year, and I've never seen 2. That's weird, you know what I mean? But it's also situational games. When you're up and you're leading and you have a chance to rush, well, and you know it's a rush, well, that's when, you know, takeaways tend to happen. You know what I mean? When the more explosive you are up front, the more you affect the quarterback, because we all know takeaways come from quarterbacks. You know, they're guys that give up the ball. So the more we can hit and pressure that guy, whether it's through pressure, blitzing, or if it's whatever, that's always the thing that gets you more takeaways. And the more we can do that, I think the better it'll be, because, you know, when guys are flinching a little bit. If he's standing back there and feels comfortable, it's pretty easy on him. It's like 7-on-7. He's not going to get hit.
All right, I
Yeah.
got Coach.
All right.
So thanks.
Thanks all. Have a good one.